What's up, guys? I'm Josh Pate. That's Steve Wiltfong. It is time for the weekly Wiltfong recruiting Whiparound, kind of a five-star buffet, if you want to give the hard T, Wiltfong. We got to start with Walter Nolan. That's a name that I see constantly when I'm scrolling the Twitter feeds, when I'm on the message boards. People want to know about finalists. People want to know about a commitment date. Please make sense of all this for me.
When you go to the 24/7 Sports composite player rankings, Josh, you don't scroll far to get to Walter Nolan. He's number one. He's at the top of that list. And he released the top three. I think he called it a final three. But for me, I still think that list is very fluid. I'm going to call it a top three. And had Texas A&M, who's really charging hard, had a terrific visit to see the Aggies at the end of July. They've really clicked with Terry Price and Elijah Robinson. They think the defense is stacked, and they think that A&M is set for years to come. When I say they, I've been talking to Walter's dad. George is the finalist. George has been in the picture heavy since the spring. He visited Athens, self-guided around the Under Armour Atlanta camp. He returned a couple times in the summer. Trey Scott leading the charge there. Kirby Smart. They've had him to campus several times. George has always been a major player. That they were in the top three, and then Tennessee made the top three as well. They originally didn't make a top five. I've lost track of the amount of times we've seen some top schools here, but they didn't make the first list. Then they made the second, and now they've made the third in the top three, and they've come on hard here because of Rodney Garner and his track record at Auburn and other places. And he's playing his high school football at Powell there in Knoxville now, and there's no question that Tennessee has some momentum, and talking to some sources around that program, they feel good about their chances with Walter Nolan. But I'll tell you this, if he commits soon, I don't want that commitment. I want, because we know that this one's going to the finish line. They still want to take their visits. They have an official visit set up for Texas A&M for the Alabama game. They have an official visit set up for Alabama for the LSU game, according to his dad. But another source told me that they thought that was at the end of December. So again, fluid with these trips. He already took his officials to Florida and Michigan. They appear to have faded. There was a lot of buzz for Florida in the summer. I never put in a 24/7 Sports crystal ball pick. I think it's obvious why, because we're here at this point now, and the Gators are no longer in play. Michigan, he's supposed to go up there for the Washington game unofficially. His dad said they still want to take those trips, but they don't know if the schools will let them take those trips now that there's this top three. I suspect that they would. So this is one that I think will still be tracking all the way up to the early signing period.
What about Zach Rice, Steve? That's a five-star offensive tackle out of Lynchburg, Virginia. What's the latest there?
Well, he's the number one offensive tackle in the country, and I think that he is trying to make a decision early in the fall if he can. He took 4 of his official visits in the summer. He went to Notre Dame, he went to Alabama, he went to Virginia, and he went to Ohio State. I'm looking at 3 schools for him right now. I like where the Tar Heels sit. I like where Virginia sits, and I think Notre Dame's still way in this one as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if he made it to games at all 3 in September and then tried to make a decision. He still has that official visit in play. It's set for North Carolina. That's one he could obviously use after he commits if he picks North Carolina. And I kind of like where North Carolina stands. He went there 3 times this summer, has a great relationship with Coach Searles and that coaching staff. Guys that are committed there, he's really clicked with. Travis Shaw's now in the boat, obviously openly recruiting his fellow 5-star. North Carolina, they have the number 13 class in the country right now, Josh. You and I have talked numerous times about the trajectory of that program. They are a real contender outside of the obvious ones that are in there every year with the way they've built it. But they haven't hit on the offensive line like this. If they could land Zach Rice, that would be as big a recruiting win as they've had when you talk about some of the other monster wins that they've had in the Mac Brown era. They haven't hit big on the offensive line yet, but I like the way it's trending. But they got to get it home. I think he's going to be at Virginia's opener against William and Mary. His mom said they're definitely going to go to a game at North Carolina, and they heard it's awesome in South Bend for a game, and they want to get to a Notre Dame game. And all 3 of those offensive line coaches are doing a good job.
When you get into this 5-star territory, any position, Steve, sometimes you start hearing the phrase prototype in terms of a physical stature. And Denver Harris, if you look at his player profile, 5-star corner out of the North Shore area in Texas, Houston to be exact. He fits that description. 6'1", about 180 pounds. You listen to some Alabama smoke, you listen to some A&M, some Texas smoke. What's the latest with Denver Harris?
Well, a lot of the smoke I see is with Alabama when you talk about prototype. He's the prototypical Nick Saban recruit. I know they locked in on him early and targeted him as one of their key guys in this class. And Josh, their board's not as big as other people's. So Denver Harris is a guy that they've coveted. I know he has regular talks with Coach Saban. It was fun talking to his mom this week, and she's the one that keeps his schedule. And she's like, all right, Denver, in between your rehab here and your study here, you got this FaceTime with Nick Saban that you got to get on. So Coach Saban, very, very involved there for Alabama, took his official there this summer. I think he's really clicked with the Crimson Tide commits, and I think that they're the one to beat. And I think that we're going to see a decision early in the fall for him as well. I mentioned that when I logged my Alabama crystal ball forecast, that maybe September for Denver Harris. So we'll see there. Texas is certainly doing everything they can to keep him in state. His mom said, we love the all gas, no brakes mantra, but they want to see the all gas, no brakes on the field. Maybe he'll make it to some games. He's visited A&M. Jimbo Fisher, when they started recruiting him early on, told Denver and his family, hey, just pay attention to what we're doing. And a couple years later, they've gone from average to contender. So that's stayed true to form. And then LSU, Corey Raymond's calling every day. They're in it, but still love where Alabama stands. When you look at the pound for pound team recruiting rankings right now, Josh, Ohio State's at the top. Alabama's number 2, and a guy like Denver Harris would flip that and put Alabama back on top as those two teams continue to rack up elite players.
All right, so a couple of more names here, Steve. We're staying at the corner position. Let's take it over to Jacksonville, Florida. That's where Jaheim Singletary is. 5-star corner. He's sitting at number 15 overall nationally in the 24/7 Sports composite player rankings. What is the latest on Jaheim Singletary?
Won't be as long-winded here, Josh. Obviously, a former Ohio State commit, decommitted here at the end of summer. I've been hearing some Georgia smoke there. We'll see if they can maintain that. Miami's obviously way in that one. He says, I know I'm going to get to Miami for a game. Talked to him today. And he said he's going to be at Florida's September 4th game. So the Gators are still alive there for Jaheim Singletary as well. But I think Georgia, Miami, then Florida, in that order right now going into the season is the way I view it. Doesn't mean it's true, but that's the way I perceive that recruitment right now.
So last name for you, Steve. It's 5-star wide receiver right out of the gateway to the West, St. Louis, Missouri. It's Luther Burden. Where, as of now, are we feeling his recruitment is leaning?
Well, the number 1 receiver in the 24/7 Sports composite, decommits from Oklahoma. As coach tells me, the Sooners are still in the picture. But talking to various people about this recruitment, I like Georgia. That's where my crystal ball is at for Luther Burden right now. I think that you're definitely not going to sleep on Missouri. Missouri's way in that one as well. He visited Missouri for every major recruiting event they had this summer. But I think that he is really high on the Dogs right now. Enjoys talking to Coach Hankton and that staff. Loves the idea of being near Atlanta and being in that kind of affluent community nearby Georgia. And then certainly the way Georgia's playing football. I think all those things are enticing. That one, it'll be interesting to see if Georgia can hold the lead for Luther Burden, because I think they're in the lead. I liked where they were with Jaheim Singletary at the end of summer. Kamari Wilson is the hard-hitting safety from IMG Academy. I think they have the edge over LSU for him. But everything that we've just discussed about recruiting for all these prospects and everybody else that's still out there evaluating, these teams are going to go play some football now on Saturdays. And we're going to see, and games are going to influence where they stand with these kids. And so you may lead right now going into the season, but we'll see where the chips fall after you play some games and what your record is.
Lot still to go. 247sports.com is where you want to be for all the latest. Steve Wiltfong, who you want to be listening to for all the latest. Stephen, a pleasure as always. I will see you next week.
Appreciate you, Josh.